The hallway was cold and silent. Lights flickered above. No one came here anymore. It was deep under the alien research base, so deep. Even most workers didn't know this level existed. But someone was awake inside. Behind a thick glass door, a girl sat on the floor. She wasn't human. Her skin had a soft glow, and her silver eyes looked tired. She had stopped speaking a long time ago. No one answered her cries. No one listened. They called her Subject 9. But she wasn't a subject. She was alive. She felt pain. She remembered her home, her family, and the day they took her. She never knew why until they said it. Your DNA is too rare, too special. Every day, machines scanned her. Needles poked her skin. She wasn't sick. She wasn't dangerous. She was just different. Then one day, everything changed. A human arrived. He wasn't supposed to be on this level. His job was on the upper floor's maintenance, fixing broken screens, checking wires, replacing air filters. But today, his scanner beeped in a strange way. It showed an area that didn't exist on the map. He was curious. He followed the signal, walked deeper, step by step. Then he heard it. A voice, faint, soft, like a whisper, carried by the air. Please. He froze. He looked around. No one was there. But the voice came again. Please, hear me. The voice wasn't in the air. It was in his mind. His heart raced. He didn't know why, but he followed the sound, down old stairs, through doors that hadn't opened in years. And then, he saw her, behind thick glass, her silver eyes locked onto his. She stood up slowly. For the first time in years, she felt hope. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't one of them. He was something different. She pressed her hand against the glass and said, without her lips moving, please, human, don't leave me here. He didn't speak. He just stared, because in that moment, he knew something they didn't. She was not just rare. She was calling only to him. And now, he had to decide what to do. Asterisk the human, whose name was Evan, stood still for a long time. His hand hovered near the control panel beside the glass door, but he didn't touch it. His eyes were fixed on the girl inside the chamber. Her face was calm, but her eyes, those glowing silver eyes, held something he couldn't ignore. Not fear, not anger. It was something deeper, a quiet kind of sadness. Mixed with hope, he stepped closer. How are you speaking inside my head? He whispered, unsure if she could hear him. She blinked slowly, then tilted her head. Her voice came again, gently inside his mind. I don't know how, but only you can hear me. You're the first. Evan looked around. Dust covered every surface. The control pad had an old red warning light flashing, but no sound came from it. The place felt forgotten, left behind, like someone had locked her here long ago and never came back. Why are you in here? He asked, lowering his voice. She slowly walked to the front of the glass, stopping just inches away. They said I'm not allowed to live with others, she said, her voice soft, echoing only in his thoughts. My DNA is too different. They were afraid, not because I'm dangerous, but because I might change things. Evan didn't understand. Change what? She hesitated, then replied, everything. That word echoed in his mind like a whisper. Down an endless hallway, he took out his scanner again and looked at the security panel. It had no ID number, no passcode, just one word, locked. There was no release switch, no opening sequence, no door handle. Whoever built this room didn't want her to ever leave. Evan scratched his head. This wasn't part of his job. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't even allowed this far underground. But he had followed the signal. Something he didn't know what had pulled him here. The girl looked down. They said I must stay quiet, that no one should hear me. But when you came close, I could feel your mind. You weren't like the others. Evan stepped back. I don't know what you are, or how you're speaking to me, but this place, ... it's not right. It's like they buried you alive. She looked up. Please, don't leave me here. He turned his eyes to the ceiling. There were no cameras, no alarms, no guards, just the two of them. Then he said something even he didn't expect. If I come back, can you show me what they're hiding? She nodded, slowly, ... yes, but if you come back, they might notice. He hesitated, then smiled just a little. Then I'll be careful. He stepped back, toward the hallway, eyes still on her. Return tomorrow, he said. Same time. The girl placed her hand on the glass again. I'll wait. As he turned and walked away, the silence behind him grew louder, but so did something inside him, a strange feeling. He had come to fix wires and broken lights. But now, he had found a hidden truth, a quiet voice no one else could hear, and he couldn't forget it. Not now, not ever. The next day, Evan returned, but this time, he took a longer path through the maintenance tunnels. He didn't want anyone to see him heading toward the forgotten level. He carried a small bag with him tools, snacks, a portable scanner, and something else. A simple audio recorder. Not to record her voice, she didn't speak out loud, but to record everything he might forget later. Because the deeper he got into this mystery, the more he felt something wasn't right. Not just with her, but with the entire base. When he reached the chamber, she was already standing, waiting, like she hadn't moved all night. "You came." Her voice rang softly in his thoughts. "I said I would," he replied, placing his hand on the glass. She looked at the bag in his hand. "You brought things." He smiled. "A few tools. I thought maybe I could figure out how to open this, or at least understand what's keeping it locked." She nodded gently. "They used strange locks, not just metal. They used something alive." Evan paused. "Alive." She placed her fingers slowly on the inner side of the glass. "Part of the door listens. It feels the DNA of those who pass. If it doesn't match, it stays closed." Evan blinked. "So they locked it, using your own code?" "Yes," she said quietly. "And then they left." Evan opened his portable scanner and held it near the door. Blue lights flickered. The readings were strange, not electronic, not mechanical. It looked like something biological was embedded inside the door's structure. "Who would build something like this?" he whispered. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "Not everyone here is from one planet." Evan looked at her, confused. "There are many kinds of minds here," she continued. "Some you see, some you don't. Are you saying there are others, like you?" She shook her head. "Not like me. I was born in starlight. My people never needed ships. We moved by thought. That's why they wanted me. They thought I could help them understand how." Evan sat down on the ground, leaning against the glass wall between them. "So they studied you. They tried," she said, eyes focused. "But they couldn't understand what they were looking for. It's not in the blood, not in the bones. It's in the quiet places, where machines can't go." He pulled out the audio recorder and turned it on, letting it sit beside him. "I don't know if I believe in all of this," he said honestly, "but I believe you're not lying." She smiled softly, for the first time. "That's enough." A strange silence filled the air, not empty, but peaceful. Like both of them knew they didn't have all the answers yet, but something was beginning. Evan stood again, and placed his hand on the scanner. "This door, it doesn't have a code, but maybe it has a memory." He pointed to the small hidden lights along the side of the frame. "If I can replay the moment it was last opened, maybe I can understand what they did." She stepped back slightly. "If you try, you must not touch the inside edge. It remembers pain." His hand paused mid-air. "Pain," she nodded. "It doesn't forget who it was built for." Evan carefully adjusted his scanner and let it run. Blue pulses ran across the frame, and then the glass shimmered for just a moment, not like a door, more like water. Evan saw a brief flash in image, a tall figure with glowing arms, not human, not like her, not like anyone he had ever seen. The vision was gone in less than a second. He stepped back, heart racing. She looked at him through the glass. "Now you've seen it too." "What was that?" he asked, voice low. She answered without fear, "Only truth. One of the minds that built this place, and left." Evan slowly picked up his tools. "I don't think this is just a lab." "No," she whispered. "It's a memory, built in stone." He nodded slowly. "Then we'll have to remember it together." She gently leaned closer to the glass, voice calm. "Tomorrow," she said, "I'll show you what they tried to keep hidden." He didn't reply. He only reached out, hand flat against the glass, mirroring hers. Then he turned and left. But with every step, his world felt a little bigger and more uncertain. Evan barely slept that night. He lay in his small dorm room, staring at the ceiling. The hum of the ventilation system above didn't calm him like usual. All he could think about was her voice, soft, steady, and always in his thoughts. Even now, when he closed his eyes, he could still hear her last words. "Tomorrow, I'll show you what they tried to keep hidden." Morning came slowly. He moved like someone carrying a secret too large for his own body. The other staff passed him in the halls, busy with their routines. No one noticed the quiet change in him. No one saw the way he clutched his small tool bag tighter than before. But the moment he entered the tunnel again, something felt different. The air dot, it was still. Even the flickering lights seemed slower, and then at the far end of the corridor, voice reached him once more, just like a soft breeze. "You came again." Evan smiled a little and quickened his pace. She was already waiting near the glass, standing tall, but calm. The light from the ceiling reflected on her silvery skin, and her eyes sparkled like they held entire galaxies. "I promised," he said, kneeling near the base of the chamber, "and you said you'd show me something today." She nodded, then raised her hands slowly. The inside wall behind her began to shift. At first, it looked like part of the wall, but it shimmered faintly and changed shape, revealing a small platform. On it sat a crystal-like object, pulsing gently with blue light. Evan leaned closer. "What is that?" She looked at the object and said, "It's a memory of my people." His eyebrows lifted. "This crystal holds memory." "Yes," she said softly, "not like a human device, not words or videos, but feelings, thoughts, moments. If you touch it with care, it can show you what we used to be." Evan felt something stir in him, a mix of excitement and unease. He had never seen anything like this. "Can I see it?" "Yes," she replied, "but only with me." He frowned slightly. "The glass, not through the glass," she interrupted, "but through me. If I hold it and reach out to you, you might feel what I feel." He hesitated. "You've done this before." "No," she said quietly. "I've never shared it. I was too afraid they would steal it. That's why I hid it behind the wall. They searched everything, but not that." Evan took a slow breath and sat down across from her, separated by the glass. "All right, I trust you." She reached out and placed her hand on the crystal. Her eyes closed. A soft glow spread from her fingers into the object. Then, slowly, her other hand rose and rested against the glass right where Evan's hand already was. The moment their palms lined up, he felt it dot warmth, dot light, then dash images, not like memories in his mind, but like dreams he didn't create. He saw a sky with 3 suns, floating cities made of light, beings that shimmered and sang instead of spoke, and her smaller, younger, standing with others like her, laughing as light spun around them. He blinked, stunned. "I'm seeing. You're home?" "Yes," she whispered, her eyes still closed. Before the silence came, Evan felt a pressure in his chest, like joy and sadness mixing. The vision changed again. Now he saw ships cold, silent entering that sky. The light of her world dimmed, the singing stopped, the cities slowly faded, and her people began to disappear. Then the image was gone. Evan gasped and pulled his hand back, blinking fast. That was, it felt real. "It was," she said gently, lowering her hand. "That's what they tried to erase." He sat back, trying to process it all. They didn't want this memory. They wanted to replace it. She nodded. "If they control what others remember, they control what others become." Evan looked up at her, voice quiet. "And you're the last one who remembers." She nodded once, her silver eyes soft. "Yes, but now you remember too." Evan felt the weight of that truth settle inside him. He had only meant to fix wires and stay out of trouble, but now he carried a piece of something ancient, something powerful, something nearly lost. He stood, slowly. "I don't know what this all means yet, but I won't let it disappear." She smiled again. "Then, the memory is safe." As Evan walked away, the glow of the crystal still danced behind his eyes, and for the first time since he joined this place, he felt like he had a purpose, a quiet purpose, but one that might change everything. Asterisk. Evan didn't go straight to his room that night. Instead, he climbed up the metal stairs to the very top of the base, where a small viewing deck overlooked the stars. It was quiet there. No one came at this hour. From behind the thick glass windows, he stared at the sky, the darkness between the stars, and wondered how many memories had been lost to time, to fear, to control. He touched his forehead, gently, right where he had felt the warmth from her memory. It hadn't faded. The feeling was still there, like a soft hum in his chest. Not a sound, but a presence. Something had changed in him. The next morning, he didn't take his usual tools. He only carried a notebook, a real one, with paper and ink. He didn't want to forget what he had seen, and he didn't trust the base systems anymore. As he walked back down into the lower tunnels, he noticed something strange. The hallway felt colder. The lights didn't flicker this time. They were off. Not broken, just dark. He paused, waiting for the usual hum of the walls. Silence when he reached the chamber. She was not standing by the glass like before. She was sitting on the floor, arms around her knees, looking down. The crystal was gone. Evan rushed closer. "Are you okay?" She looked up slowly. Her voice was there, soft as ever, but it carried a weight he hadn't heard before. "They came last night." He froze. "Who?" "Not in person," she said, "but something moved through the walls. Something that listens." Evan looked around. "Surveillance." She nodded. "Not machines. Something older. Something that was left here to keep the secrets quiet." He took a shaky breath. "Did they see me?" "No," she replied gently, "but they felt the memory move. That's why the lights are off. They're watching now. Not through cameras, but through space itself." Evan didn't speak. He sat down slowly, feeling a chill run through him. "I've written everything I saw," he said, showing her the notebook. "I don't know if anyone else will understand it, but I can't let it disappear." She looked at the notebook and said, "That's good, because soon they might try to erase it again." He frowned. "You said you had more to show me. Is it still safe?" She stood, slowly. The wall behind her shimmered again, this time not with light, but with patterns, shapes that moved like slow waves. They weren't pictures, they weren't words, they were alive. Evan leaned closer. "What is that?" She placed her hand on the moving wall. "A map, not of space, not of places, but of minds." He blinked. "A map of thoughts." She nodded. "Every being who entered this place left a trace. This map remembers them, what they wanted, what they feared, what they tried to hide." Evan's breath caught in his throat. "Can we see them?" She looked at him. "Only if we listen carefully." The wall glowed slightly, and Evan began to feel something again, not images this time, but intentions. A presence. Cold, sharp, distant, and another curious, fast, but nervous. Dozens of them, layered like music from another world. Different beings, different minds, and beneath them all, one voice that felt like stone. Heavy. Still. Watching. Evan stepped back. "That one, it's still here, isn't it?" "Yes," she whispered. "It never left." Evan looked at her, feeling the weight of it press against his thoughts. "Is it why they locked you here?" Her voice became even softer. "They were afraid that I could speak back." Evan's hand shook slightly as he gripped the notebook. "And now that I've heard you, you're part of the memory too," she finished. Silence filled the chamber. Evan knew they couldn't stay like this for long. Whoever or whatever was still connected to this place would soon notice that the silence had been broken. "We need to find a way to protect the memory," Evan said. "Something beyond paper, something they can't erase." She looked at him with calm eyes. "Then it's time you saw the final chamber," she said. "The one even I have never opened." Evan's heart beat faster. He didn't know what waited beyond that final door, but something deep inside him whispered that this forgotten level, this quiet girl, this hidden memory was no longer just a secret. It was a beginning. The corridor beyond her chamber had no lights, no markings, no doors, just a plain, smooth wall that looked like it had always been there. But when she stepped closer, the wall began to shimmer. Evan stood beside the glass, watching in silence as the shimmer turned into patterned spirals, curves, soft glowing lines, moving like water across stone. "This wall isn't real," she said quietly. "It's memory, shaped into matter. It only opens for someone who remembers without fear." Evan pressed his hand to the cold glass. "Then how do I go in with you?" She turned to him, her voice clear in his thoughts. "You don't walk through it, you think through it. If our minds are in rhythm, you'll see what I see." Evan didn't fully understand, but he trusted her. He closed his eyes, breathed slowly, and focused on the memory she had shared: the sky with 3 suns, the laughter, the floating cities of light. Then something shifted. He didn't hear a sound, but he felt the space between them disappear. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer standing outside the glass. He was inside, not physically, but something deeper than body. His thoughts were beside hers. The wall ahead glowed brighter now. Sensing their joint presence, she stepped forward, and the patterns pulled apart like soft strands of thread. Behind the wall was the final chamber. It was unlike anything Evan had imagined. The room was round, with no corners, and at the center floated a sphere of soft light, pulsing slowly, like a sleeping heart. Around it, transparent rings rotated, each filled with shapes and symbols that flickered gently. "What is this?" he asked, stunned. She walked slowly toward it. "This is the core. It holds the first message my people left when we arrived." "Here," Evan stared. "You were here before all this." She nodded. "Long ago. Not to rule, not to take. We came to share something." "What?" She looked at him, voice steady. "Balance. Between thought and being. Between memory and silence." But not everyone wanted to listen. Evan moved closer. As he did, the light in the sphere responded, warming slightly. "You can feel it too," she said softly. "That's why you heard me. Your mind was open." He looked at her, confused. "But I'm just a technician. I fix broken vents and cracked lights." She smiled. "Even light needs someone to keep it from flickering." Evan didn't know how to answer that. So instead, he asked, "What do we do now? If this core is so important, won't they try to hide it again?" "Yes," she said, "but we won't let them." She reached toward the core. It pulsed gently. "In her hand, if I pass this memory to you," she continued, "it will live in more than one place, not just inside me, not just inside this chamber, but inside someone who walks free." Evan hesitated. "Are you sure it's safe?" "No," she said truthfully, "but it's necessary." She extended her hand toward him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then he felt a warmth move through him, gentle, like sunlight on still water. No pain, no fear, just a deep, quiet calm. The symbols on the floating rings began to spin faster, reacting to their connection. The chamber pulsed with light, and for a brief second, Evan saw thousands of eyes not watching, not judging, but remembering. His mind filled with voices from distant times, not loud, just present. Then everything went still. He opened his eyes. He was back outside the glass, standing alone. The girl stood inside, eyes soft. "You saw it?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, it's inside me now." She smiled. "Then the core is no longer alone." But just then, the lights above flickered downly. Once Evan turned his head quickly, and in that moment, he felt it. Something else had noticed the change. A quiet presence, far above awake now. Because a rule had been broken. He turned back to her. "They felt it, didn't they?" "Yes," she said softly. "They will come soon. But now, you have a part of the truth. And the truth can move even through silence." Evan clutched the notebook in his hand. It was no longer just a record. It was now a doorway, one only a few could follow. And time was running out.